Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Peppermint Philosophy podcast. I'm your host, Adam Burgess, and I have internet now, so that means that I can properly get down and actually upload these episodes when I make them, instead of having to wait until I have to go into work and leech off some internet for a bit and upload them there. Everything's sort of starting to come together. I've managed to figure out how to get my podcast not only on my website, peppermintphilosophy.squarespace.com, but not only that, I've been able to upload them to Spotify as well. I might try and figure out how to do it on other platforms, but for now it's just Spotify. Give it a follow and listen along if you enjoy. It's much appreciated. I hope you are enjoying it and getting something out of it, I guess. So before you get into it, just grab yourself a drink. I've got myself some peppermint tea here. Got to represent the name. Let's get into it. So it's a rainy day. By the sea where I'm at. I thought I'd just, sit down and record a podcast because it's been roughly, a few days. It hasn't actually been that long. But I just felt like it. So yesterday, actually, I was doing some thinking. So as I walk up to where I'm doing my work, the labs where I do my PhD, they're up a hill. And so I have to go up this hill every day. I was sort of listening to music and thinking. And I was listening to Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. It takes me back. So Led Zeppelin's a band which takes me back to my childhood. So my dad loved Led Zeppelin. My older brother loved Led Zeppelin. And then when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that sort of range in primary school, I absolutely adored Led Zeppelin. I didn't really understand it because I was a kid, but I just I loved rock music, all of that sort of stuff. I was really into it, and so I've been recently listening to a lot more sort of Led Zeppelin because I haven't for a long time, and I don't know, Stairway to Heaven kind of brought back a load of memories. So in Stairway to Heaven, there's like this great sort of like medieval recorder backing, which goes on like throughout most of the song. And it reminded me of when I was in that age bracket. And I remember when I was a kid, I had a friend and he was really good at guitar. I remember wanting to be, I think I'd watched School of Rock and all that shit, and I'd got it in my brain that I wanted to be a rock star and that I wanted to, learn either guitar or bass guitar. And me and this guy, we were going to make a band. It was going to be great. We were going to be rock stars, and there were all kinds of, it was like kind of like the podcast I was talking about with my mates in the first episode. We're still working on that, but it was kind of like, there were always roadblocks, but the biggest roadblock was that I had no fucking talent, right? I didn't know an instrument. I always had it in my brain. I was like, I want to learn guitar. I'm dead set on guitar, whatever it might be. I only want to play these string instruments. And when I was a kid, I was learning recorder. Like, my mum bought me a recorder for my birthday. I can't remember how old I was when I got it. And so I started playing recorder. I went to like a recorder club in primary school. And I didn't really get it. I didn't really pay much attention, so I didn't really stick with it that well. I kind of went along with it, played a little bit here and there. But I never really took to it. But I always had it in my head. I was like, oh, but if I get a guitar, I'll learn that. Even though I couldn't commit to learning the recorder, which is, I suppose, relatively and potentially relatively simpler. But I lacked that kind of commitment. And so alongside that and the fact that me and my friend never actually did anything about, trying to form a band. It was always waiting for me to get a bass guitar or whatever. We just nothing ever came of it. It was all talk, no action kind of stuff. But I think it reminded me of this sort of, I used to be such a little quitter. I think that was something that defined a lot of my, I guess, pre-adulthood. Because I think throughout my childhood and my adolescence, I was quitting, I did quite well, I guess, academically. So in school, I did well in my in primary. I did all right in primary school. I did well in my GCSEs. I did okay, I guess, in A-levels. It was like lower end, but I went to an undemanding university, so it wasn't too bad. But I kind of I flourished academically, where I was just sort of following this path, basically, that was laid out before me. I was very good at doing things that I was told to do. But when it came to, trying to do things that I kind of talked myself into wanting to do, I just give up, right? I'd do it once maybe, and then realize it was too hard, or realize that it was difficult. Not that it was too hard. Nothing's too hard. I feel like it's the fact that I was met with difficulty, and it was something that I didn't have to do. So I always had that escape route, and that was the problem that I always had with it. So I remember there were times in my life when I was a teen. I was a fat kid growing up. I was always the fat kid. By the time I was 18 years old, I was something like 20 stones, which is like 120, 140 kg, something like that. So I was really big, and bear in mind, I'm quite short as well. So basically, I was a short round, But I remember there were times when I was like, no, I'm going to try and get this weight under control. I'm going to try and exercise more. And I do, maybe like a few little things here. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember there was one time when I was maybe like 14, 15. I was like, I want to try running or jogging. I was like, I've got this, this route I wanted to try, And the thing with when you start out running, it's very difficult to get over not only the physical block. The physical block is hard. But what's harder is being able to tune in mentally, and to be able to have your mind basically tell your body that it's going to feel shit for a bit, but once you get over that hump, it's all okay. And so that's the struggle that you tend to face, and I think that's the roadblock most runners have when they're getting started. And so I started running, and felt, if you feel your lungs burning a little bit, so you stop and walk for a bit, and then you start up again, which is totally fine. That's kind of that's the best way to get into running, I'd say. Just start and stop. And it just, I had that struggle, and I was like, oh God, I made it round eventually. I probably only did maybe 3 kilometers, which for someone who doesn't usually run is decent, I suppose. But I used to play no, we'll get onto that later. But so I was running a little bit and then stopping, but when I got back, I was telling myself, I was like, yeah, that's good. I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad I did that. I told some friends, I was like, yeah, I went for a run today. It was really tough, but, I did it, trying to convince myself, I guess, that I was going to do it again, but I knew I wasn't going to do it again. And lo and behold, I never did, or didn't for a long time, because I just gave up. And there were so many instances where I just sort of quit, either before I'd really started, or when I'd, been doing it because I thought I had to, and then I just stopped. recorder, for example. And I was just thinking about how different I am now, because now I've been running for, near 3-4 years, maybe. Let me think. Yeah, it's probably 4 years, almost, 4 years of running, probably. And, I'm now running long distances, stuff that I'd never thought I'd be able to do. And I feel good. I think that all started a few years ago when I started going to the gym. I'd started running before that. Over a summer, I'd done Couch to 5K. I think I mentioned this in the first episode. But I did that, and that got me into running. Then I went to the gym. I lost loads of weight. I think part of the problem is that it's, in order to see the benefits of something, you have to kind of stick with it. And I definitely didn't have that mentality when I was younger. When I was younger, I always saw the escape route and I went for it. As soon as I was met with a struggle, I was like, nope, not gonna do this, not gonna try. Just gonna get out, go back to comfort, eat some food, be lazy, not do anything. I feel like there's so many people who can fall into that trap because it's such an easy trap to fall into. But you need kind of that push, right? And I didn't used to be self-motivated. I didn't used to have that ability to just set my mind on something and do it. Because I tried when I was even during university. So when I was maybe 20 years old, that was when I really got into was able to self-motivate myself more. But even at the beginning of that, it took time for me to actually transition. I needed to see the results of essentially going to the gym, right? But I wouldn't have gone to the gym if it weren't for the fact that I had friends who were going to go along. And we went as a group. I'd sort of motivated myself to do the running. That's one thing. So Couch to 5K was one thing that I did on my own. But I probably wouldn't have gone to the gym had my friends not been like, oh, we're all going to sign up to the gym. Let's all go together. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I went along. And I didn't really, it takes a little while to start to see the benefits of it. I kind of went along, did short workouts, didn't really know what I was doing. Everyone has that phase where they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing in the gym. Kind of watching videos and just trying to emulate it. But I stuck with it, with the help of my friends. And one by one, we sort of whittled down. It was just me and one other guy, basically, just going into the gym and fairly consistently. And we did a bit of running as well. And by the end of that year, I'd gone from like 120 kilos down to like 75. So I'd lost a lot of weight. That's like 18 stone to 12 stone, something like that. So I was incredibly happy with that. I started to see the results, and I took that. I kept on going to the gym, and then I began to run more over the last 2 years or so. And now I'm out, running a marathon. I ran a marathon. I'm planning on doing another marathon this weekend, actually, if the weather's all right, but we'll have to see. But sometimes you have to have that kind of, in order to build self-motivation, you need the help of others. And it doesn't necessarily mean that those others are going to stick with it either. Because again, a bunch of my friends didn't stick with it. I ended up sticking with it. Sometimes you just need the motivation to go with someone to give you the confidence. And then you can start doing something that will better yourself. And when you see the results, that's when you get that drive, to do something yourself on your own, to go out and try things differently. And I have to say, so this friend of mine who stuck with me through the gym, I now I'm fairly semi-competitively running with him. We challenge each other, we push each other. And not only that, he actually encouraged me to end up buying a musical instrument. He ended up encouraging me to buy a guitar, and I've started playing guitar as well. I started in January, or end of January, early February, and I've been playing ever since. And during lockdown, I've actually gotten quite decent. I'm quite happy to the point where I can now sort of play a bit more confidently. I'm starting to pick up new tricks and stuff, but I'm starting to achieve those things because of the encouragement of my friends. I'm sticking with those things because I have the self-motivation and the drive to do it. I've kind of expelled that kind of quitter mentality from my mind, that those years of childhood where I was literally just doing nothing, not improving my life, not picking up skills, doing things because I had to do them. Education. It was, it's one of these things which I feel like a lot of people are being failed at, because we're not very good as a society at encouraging initiative, at encouraging people to have more positive, mentality when it comes to exercise and self-motivation to pick up new skills. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have that skill set, why on earth would you go out and find a job? Why would you go out and pick up a new skill? Why would you go out and do any number of things? You can end up in this bubble of safety, because you always have that safety net. You don't have to go out on your own and take the initiative to do something about your problems, and it can spiral out of control. But I think what my friends taught me was that everyone has the power to help each other achieve these things, even if we don't end up sticking to them. I was a bit of a weird riff there, but I think, what I kind of wanted to bring it back to is that we can help each other, encourage each other to be better, to work together to achieve different goals. Maybe that's a case of you going out and encouraging your friend to, go out of their comfort zone. Maybe join them for a bit. Take them on a few things. If it's not for you, it's not for you, whatever. You've done it with them. You've helped them out. And then you can hightail out of there. Or you might end up picking up a new skill that you love and that you want to continue. I think that's kind of the evolution that a lot of people can go through. And I don't regret my childhood or whatever, because it's so stupid. Like, another thing that people can get caught up in is that, you've achieved this thing, you've realized that actually you have a potential that you can achieve and that you can just keep going if you push yourself. And so many people, I think, can just look back at wasted time and just be like, I can't believe that I threw away all of that time where I could have been figuring out my own potential and bettering myself. But doing that's just wasting more time. There's no point in getting worked up about it. I think, it's like, a couple of friends I've had during this lockdown, they've been talking about how there's so much wasted time. I feel like I've done nothing during this. Constantly moaning and moaning and moaning. I'm not bashing them for it, but, they're moaning on chats and whatever, talking about how much time they've wasted and how they feel like they haven't achieved anything. It's like, so what? So you had some time where it was shit, and you, like everyone else, were feeling shit and you didn't know what to do, and you were maybe depressed, or everyone goes through that. Everyone gets upset. They can get caught up in these, horrible loops of just not feeling like they're achieving anything. But there's no point. I mean, it's happened. There's no point crying over spilt milk, And so I feel like if you can just take that initiative now, just go out and try something, do something, go out of your comfort zone, pick up a new skill, try that thing that you've always wanted to do. There are ways that you can get into it. I mean, one of the great things about the internet and technology is that there's so many entry points that you can take, right? You can do Couch to 5K, which will help you get to that point where you can go running. It did it for me. It's done it for so many other people. You know, there's things like, you know, YouTube videos. With guitar, I started off doing like a very, very basic beginner's course, which was literally just teaching me the chords. Gave me some things to play around with, and I had a go. And I thought, you know, started that out. It was like, you know, a few minutes every day, just getting my fingers, you know, better, more used to it and stuff like that. You can do it. I mean, you just need to motivate yourself, and crucially, you need to just stick with it. If you stick with it, you're not going to see the fruits of your labor from day one. We can't expect that anymore. You know, we have this kind of mentality where we need things to be achieved immediately. We need improvements now. We need to like, you know, get things done as soon as possible and see the benefits of that. But in reality, life doesn't work that way, and it's actually probably damaging to us as a whole if we keep expecting these things so quickly, because we'll end up realizing that they're not quick and we'll just give up. You know, the people who made a lot of the cathedrals in this country, the people who laid the first bricks, they didn't live long enough to see the end product, right? Because they could take decades to build. But it wasn't about that. It was about a long-term, you know, devotion to God or whatever it might be. But if we say that the devotion to God is you know, your improvement, you might not see that in the first month. You know, if you're losing weight, you might not see it in the first month. You know, the diet might suck, or the exercise might feel hard. But if you trust the process, you'll start taking those steps. You'll get better. You'll improve. You'll achieve more. You'll, month by month, whilst you're doing this, start to notice that you're losing weight. People will notice it around you and they'll say, I think you've lost weight. You know, you'll push further, you'll lift heavier, you'll run further. And then soon enough, you step on the scales and you've lost 40 kilos or whatever it might be. And so we need to just have that mentality of like just sticking with it, trusting the process, being a doer, you know, not a quitter. Because that's quite good. I'll probably call that the episode. But that's the kind of thing, you know. You've got to just stay with it, because then you'll start improving yourself. You'll make lifestyle changes, not just to, you know, what you eat or whatever. But like as a whole, your lifestyle will grow to apply these skills, these tools to other things, right? Like I'm trying to apply my tools of sticking with things to this shit podcast, right? I know that now I'm not going to necessarily see, you know, whatever it is I might be getting from this, you know, whether it's viewers or subscribers or even personal reflections or more vivid reflections, whatever it might be. I might not see that now, but I want to stick with it because I know that doing things that I want to do, or that I say, you know, that I've thought about doing, if I stick with it, I'll find out soon enough whether it's for me or not, you know. And when I start seeing those improvements, things that make me feel better about myself, it's its own reward, right? I no longer want to just flout around doing nothing, watching YouTube videos and doing nothing with my day. I start wanting to take the initiative, have conversations, go out and spend time with people, all of these things. Having this kind of doer mentality can really help you with all kinds of things, but it always starts with square one. So trying to circle it back, it's all, we're talking about things like encouraging your friends to do things, helping them achieve their goals, but then also finding things that you like, doing those things, having a go at them, and just sticking with them. Stick with them for like a month, 2 months, a period of time. See if it makes you better. See if you like it. See if there's a benefit that you notice, that other people notice. Find the motivation in that. Encourage your friends when they go out and do something, when they try something different. Don't take the piss out of them. Not only is that kind of mean and you're only in that sense serving your own ego because you're just going, you're just making fun of them. You're just like, whatever it might be. Wow. Saying that, it makes it sound like my mates are taking the piss out of me for doing this podcast. To be honest, they probably are. But I've been very selective with who I've told about it so far. But anyway, that's a side note. But the point is that like taking the piss out of people for trying new things, it's like a defense mechanism. People who tend to do that are probably actually more insecure about themselves anyway. If you're putting yourself out there, you're doing something that's going to improve you, more people will respect you for that, You will respect yourself more for it. Don't listen to naysayers and people who are just putting you down or being shitty to you. Just shrug it off, water off a duck's back. People will always be like that. They might not even mean to be like that. But it requires your mental fortitude to stick with it. And I encourage you to do so because the benefits of it in your whole life are magnificent. Suddenly you can start challenging yourself, setting new goals, being better, reading more, running more, lifting more, whatever it might be, podcasting more. You build up the skill sets, you become better. You're never too old, you're never too stupid, you're never too illiterate, whatever it might be, you can always improve those skills. It just requires time, effort, and that doer mentality. As you can probably tell, I'm starting to run out of things to say. I probably said the same thing about 5 times. But I think hopefully that sort of resonated with someone. I guess I'll leave you with a quote from Lao Tzu, who is the semi-real, semi-mythical philosopher who came up with Taoism, and he is quoted as saying something like, I should probably double check that it's exactly this, but it's a translation anyway, so chances are ballpark will be good enough. But he said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. And yes, it might seem like 1,000 miles away is that new you, that new skill set that you want to achieve. But 1 step gets you closer to it, 2 steps closer still. And before you know it, you're walking miles down, 2 miles are down. Everyone has to take that journey. Everyone struggles. But it's okay. Because as long as you stick to the process, you will get there in the end. Thank you for listening to the Peppermint Philosophy podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please give me a follow on Spotify. And feel free to go to the Peppermint Philosophy podcast website, which is peppermintphilosophy.squarespace.com. I haven't really done much with it yet. It's basically just a place for me to upload these podcasts because I don't really trust doing it, or I don't really want to do it through some weird third party or whatever. So I'm uploading the podcast there. I might start writing blogs, just to expand the kind of stuff that I'm either talking about or other things that I've thought about, or other stuff that I might end up writing. I might also try and figure out some sort of forums. I don't know. But in any case, if you want to... Pardon me, sorry, I'm burping. If you want to send me anything, I'll probably try and set up an email link or something, because I don't use social media. Again, I'm sure I'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I'm blabbering on as usual. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.